and welcome to another edition of the Hardline Curling Show. This week on the show, a few spots in the Montana's Brier are still up for grabs, while the Scotties field is now set. We'll take a closer look at some of the teams who will be in Thunder Bay and hear from one of the skips looking to claim the title. Plus, we head south for an update on the U.S. National Championships. The broom is down, so let's settle into the hack and get started. The opening draw of the Montana's Brier is just 3 weeks away, and while a majority of teams have already punched their ticket to Kelowna, BC, a couple of spots in the field of 18 are yet to be filled. Let's start with the two most recent qualifiers, though, which saw a pair of longtime Brier veterans meeting opposite fates in their respective playdowns. In New Brunswick, James Gratton-Rink made an impressive run through the provincial playdowns, going 6-1 in round-robin play to earn a direct berth to the final, where they avenged their lone defeat with a dominant 8-2 win over Jamie Stewart. The win sends Gratton back to the Brier for the 17th time in his impressive career, which includes a pair of bronze medals at the National Championship. This will be Gratton's 10th Brier appearance as a skip, going all the way back to his very first in 1997. He currently ranks 12th all-time in Brier games played with 166. Meanwhile, the man directly ahead of him on that list will not have a chance to add to his total this year. However, Jamie Cooey was looking to make his 18th career appearance and almost had it in his grasp, holding a 6-5 lead and last rock entering the final end of the championship draw at the Northwest Territories playdowns. But in a stunning finish, it was Hay River's Aaron Bartling stealing a point to tie the game and then stealing again in the extra end to pull off the upset. So it will be Bartling making his Brier debut representing the NWT, marking just the third time in the last 20 years that Cooey will not be at the National Championship. That leaves two more berths still to be decided, and two pretty big ones at that. Alberta and Manitoba are in the midst of their playdowns as we speak, though both provinces already have some representation in the Brier field, with Matt Dunstone's Winnipeg rink and Brad Jacobs' team from Calgary already claiming 2 of the 3 direct entries. Interestingly enough, Jacobs actually represented Manitoba at last year's Brier, throwing 4th stones on Team Reed Carruthers. Now Carruthers is back in the traditional skips role, looking to earn an 8th straight trip to the Brier and 13th overall, and he's got some extra help with the addition of BJ Neufeld at 3rd, just in time for playdowns. Neufeld, of course, spent the last 2.5 years with Team Dunstone before parting ways in December. Team Carruthers is the favorite to come out of Manitoba, but there's plenty of competition in the 32-team event, including Jacques Gauthier, who represented BC at the 2023 Brier and played on Kevin Cooey's wildcard team last year, and 2015 World Junior Champion Braden Calvert, just to name a few. Meanwhile, in Alberta, the field is not quite as crowded, with just 12 teams vying for the Boston Pizza Cup and the right to wear the blue and gold in Kelowna. The defending champion is Aaron Sluchinski, who this year has teamed up with one of the all-time greats and 4-time Brier champion and 2-time world champion Kevin Cooey. Along with second Tyler Tardy and lead Kark Martin, they are the heavy favorites to come out of Wild Rose Country. But of course, you have to win to get in, and as we saw with Cooey's brother Jamie, this week anything can happen. Both the Manitoba and Alberta provincial finals will be decided on Sunday, February 9th. And of course, we will tie a bow on that for you next week on the show. Meanwhile, one last piece of Brier news to pass your way, with Curling Canada announcing this week that the 2026 edition is headed to, somewhat fittingly, to the Rock. St. John's, Newfoundland will host next year's tournament, marking the 3rd time that the men's championship will be held in that city. The last time was in 2017, when hometown hero Brad Gushue rode the wave of the Newfoundland support to his first of 6 Brier titles. Next year's edition will run from February 27th to March 8th at the Mary Brown Center. Tickets are set to go on sale in just over a month, on March 6th. Let's turn our attention to the women now, as the 2025 Scotties Tournament of Hearts is just 1 week away, with the opening draw appropriately set for Valentine's Day in Thunder Bay, Ontario. The 18-team field features a number of top contenders, and we're going to introduce you to them in 2 parts, starting this week with the teams in Pool A. And no better place to begin than with the defending champions, led by Rachel Homan, who is seeking her 5th Scotties title. She's been the hottest skip in women's curling for over a year now, with 5 wins on the tour this season alone, including a pair of Grand Slam titles, the Pan-Continental Championship and the PointsBet Invitational. Homan has successfully defended her Scotties crown once before, winning her first 2 titles back-to-back in 2013 and 14. The other wins were in 2017 and, of course, last year. Homan's team features Tracy Fleury at 3rd, Emma Miskew at 2nd, and Sarah Wilkes at lead. Rachel Brown is the alternate. Alberta has two teams at the Scotties, and both are in Pool A. Kayla Skrillik is the provincial champion, coming out of the Garrison Curling Club in Calgary. She's making her second career appearance at the Scotties after posting a 4-4 record in her debut 2 years ago. Her team includes third Margot Fleming, second Ashton Skrillik, and lead Jerry Lynn Ramsey, plus alternate Crystal Rumberg. Also representing Alberta, but as one of the three wildcard entries, is Selena Sturmay, who is in fact a former teammate of Kayla Skrillik's. Sturmay, who plays out of the Seville Centre in Edmonton, made some noise in her first Scotties appearance last year, going 7-1 in pool play and advancing through the championship pool to the playoffs, where she lost in the 3-4 game to Manitoba's Kate Cameron. The team also features Danielle Schmiemann at third and vice skip, along with second Desiree Hawks and lead Paige Papley. Next up is Team BC, led by Corin Brown. The skip from Kamloops is making her fourth trip to the Scotties and looking to break through after posting records of 5-6, 4-4, and 4-4 in her first three appearances. Team Brown's lineup includes Erin Pincott at third, Sarah Colton at second, and Samantha Fisher at lead, with Kristen Ryan serving as the alternate. Pool A also features the hometown favorites from Northern Ontario, Krista McCarville, set to compete in her 12th Scotties out of Thunder Bay's Fort William Curling Club. She's been a fixture over the last decade, missing the national championship just twice since 2015. McCarville is still seeking that elusive first win, though. She's been close, losing twice in the final, including the last time in Thunder Bay in 2022. Her team features vice skip Andrea Kelly, second Kendra Lilly, lead Ashley Sipola, and alternate Sarah Potts. Jumping over to Saskatchewan, where Nancy Martin is donning the green jacket for the first time as a skip at the Scotties. Her only other previous trip to the national championship came as the third on Sherry Anderson's team in 2021 when they went 6-6. Another member of that team will be back with Martin this year as Shaylin Stewart slots in at third. The lineup also includes Kadriana Lott at second and Deanna Doig at lead. Doig is also the team's vice skip, while Colleen Ackerman is the alternate. And their coach, the aforementioned Sherry Anderson, who always seems to find her way back to the Scotties. Heading back east, two maritime provinces are in Pool A. Team New Brunswick will be led by Melissa Adams, who is making her sixth appearance at the national championship and fifth since 2017. Adams has never advanced past pool play at the Scotties, with a 4-3 record in the 2018 event, standing as her best result to date. But maybe the setting of this year's tournament will help, as Thunder Bay is where she won a World Junior Championship in 1998. Adams' team includes vice skip Jacqueline Crandall at third, Kayla Russell at second, Kayla Lister at lead, and Molly Ward is the alternate. Prince Edward Island gives us the first team whose skip does not throw final stones. Jane DiCarlo instead prefers to throw third, while Veronica Main delivers the last two rocks in the end. It was Main's angle raise facing three in the last end of the provincial final that sent the team to its second Scotties. The lineup is rounded out by second Sabrina Smith, lead Whitney Jenkins, and alternate Jenny White. And last but not least, the final entry in Pool A is Team Nunavut, skipped by Julia Weagle. And yes, if you're wondering, she is in fact the sister of longtime Team Homan lead Lisa Weagle, who will also be competing at the Scotties as a member of Team Quebec. Julia is making her debut this year after accepting an invite to join three members of the Iqaluit Curling Club, third Sadie Pinkson, second Lee Gustafson, and lead Allison Taylor. Now, there's no guarantee the Weagle sisters will face each other since they're in opposite pools, but if they do, it'll be the fifth such occasion in Scotties history. And there you have the 9 teams in Pool A. We will take a look at the teams in Pool B next week on the show. Speaking of those Pool B teams, one of the skips is joining us now on the show. Danielle Inglis is getting set for her 4th Scotties Tournament of Hearts, representing Ontario as second as a skip after posting a 3-5 record in that role last year. Danielle, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, the Scotties are getting closer. You guys are set to head out to Thunder Bay. What is the feeling and the mood like this time of the year?
We're excited. We're so excited. We said last time when we finished the Scotties that we couldn't wait to get back there, because when you do it for the first time, there are so many things that you wish you could do better, know a little bit more ahead of time, like no matter how much you plan and practice. So getting to do it the second time, we're just so excited.
There's a lot of excitement. There's probably lots of lessons that you'll take from that first time. Can you highlight some of the things that you maybe learned last time around that you're going to take this time around?
Yeah, well, just the preparation and the planning that goes into it. Also, the management of the time throughout the event. There are so many other little things that go along with the event, and just really managing that time. Also, we we didn't necessarily have a huge ton of nerves when we got into the event last year, but we've learned how to manage those higher expectations of ourselves, and that'll serve us really well going into this event.
You were an alternate in the past. Is that experience relevant at all? I mean, that was sort of the first taste. Can you take much of that again into your preparation?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any chance that you get to compete or be part of a huge event like this, national curling event, you learn something at all times, no matter what role you're playing in it. So it's everything builds towards where you're going, and any good athlete is taking all of those lessons and putting them forward.
How different is it though, being a skip compared to an alternate? I imagine it's sort of like you're there and everything, but I imagine it's quite different.
It is different. Though you're part of the team, there's more pressure when you're on the ice, and a higher level of visibility. So keeping that in mind and is really something that I learned on my first go around last year as a skip in that situation rather than an alternate.
hmm Obviously, in Thunder Bay, in Ontario, it's Northern Ontario technically, but do you sense any sort of hometown crowd that's going to be behind you as Team Ontario?
Well, we're on the opposite draw at Chris McCarville and Rachel Homan, so hoping we might pick up a few residual Ontario fans along the way who could cheer for us on the off draw. Um, but we're spent some time in Thunder Bay before, love the city, so we're hoping to really enjoy the crowds. I hear they're supposed to be big and excited and loud.
Yeah, no doubt. Tell us about the season so far for you guys leading up to this event and what it's been like.
It's I would say the season as a whole hasn't been what we had hoped it would have been. Like if you look at it on paper, our win loss record, our qualifying record hasn't been as strong as we had hoped, especially since we had such a great season last year. But if you also dive a little bit deeper into it, all of those games were close, and we did a lot of learning. We changed some things technically at the beginning of the season, and we didn't have much practice ice because it was so early in the season. So some of the results reflect that, but we've since just powered through because we believed in what our team could do. We believed in our abilities, and we knew that it would all come together, and it did, and we peaked at the right time.
We often see teams change up their lineups periodically sometimes every year, every few years. Have you guys been able to maintain that core, or have there been changes?
Yeah, this is our second year with this lineup, the four of us. Previous to that, Cassandra lead, Kira the third, and myself were on a team. So it's been our third year together. And Cass is a longtime teammate of mine. This will be our 11th season together.
Very cool. Is that chemistry important, do you think, as you get into these events, especially drawing on what happened last year and building up with that chemistry this year?
Hugely important. Our just the ability to support each other and be friends on and off the ice, and that has just speak volumes to us. I know we saw a lot of movement in this past curling season, and teach their own curling's going in a very interesting direction, but we also feel strongly about the importance of working on things together as a team.
hmm
And we felt that that's been one of our strengths, and that's why we are where we are right now.
When you see the draw come out and you find out where you are and what your schedule is like, how long before you start breaking down each game and looking at, okay, here's our schedule, here's our opponents. What is that like from a skip's perspective?
It's it's definitely something we look at, but we also don't look too far ahead. But we are planning out our entire week, and we're liking the way things are falling in terms of the timing for our draws, the timing for our bye. Last year, we felt very crunched. Our bye wasn't until the last game, and we had a lot of activities happening all at once, which our first time at the Scotties, that was a lot going on right all at the same time. So it's nice to be able to look at those games and be able to pace it out and pace ourselves out. But we look at it, but at the same time, you try not to get too far ahead of yourselves because there's a lot of great teams out there in the field this year, and it's going to be a tough event.
Is there a game that you're maybe looking forward to the most on that schedule, or are they all, one at a time? The cliche, right? One at a time, or is there one that you sort of have circled?
They're all at the top, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. You're looking at all of them. Honestly, you've got to take each one for what it's worth. Every team is there for a reason, and they have the ability to play well at any given time. So you can't take any team lightly. I am looking forward to our last round robin game, which is playing Carrie Galusha's team, Northwest Territories. It sounds like it might be her last round robin game at a Scotties, from what she's been saying, and honored to be playing in that game against her because she's been a friend of mine for many, many years.
Because you played against Jennifer Jones too, right? Was it last year? Kind of a similar thing?
We did. Also, another situation where it was incredible to be there with Jen's last year, and just she's incredible what she's accomplished over her curling career, and to have been able to play her in her last Scotties was a great memory.
Having that experience last year, I imagine it's still sort of a pinch me moment when you get out there, when you go through the introductions. Sure, when you're throwing the shots, you probably try to make it just another game, but you try to soak in all of this with it, especially being, your second. It's still, you haven't been to 18 like some of these veterans before. So do you still have that sort of pinch me moment when you do get out there?
It's important to have a balance between that, because one of the things that someone once told me was, you never know when you're going to get back, and you always want to make sure to focus on the competition, of course, because that's what you're there for, but you always want to be able to enjoy the opportunity and what's in front of you. So there's it'll very quickly. I don't find it difficult to get focused on the ice. I'm usually quite in a bubble, and I don't really know what's going on the other sheets or around me. So on my side of things, that's not a big problem. But yeah, just making sure you find that balance, because there are so many neat things that are going on outside of just the ice. From the telethon to the youth programming, we've got future stars with us. There's just so many things that are exciting, and we want to be part of it all and experience it all.
Very cool. Well, Danielle, thank you for the time, and best of luck in Thunder Bay. We'll be watching.
Thank you so much.
It's time for a break. When we come back, we will recap the USA Curling National.
This is it. It all comes down to this rock. The hours in the gym, the weeks away from my family. This is what I've been training for. And all those voices trying to tear me down, I'm here to silence them. We've given everything we have for a chance to get everything we want.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Everything I've worked for, everything I've sacrificed, has led to this. It's out of your hands now. All the gold medals in the world can't help you now. You could throw the perfect rock and still miss, but it just takes one. You leave it all out there on the ice to leave behind a legacy.
Plenty of focus on the Scotties and the Brier in the coming weeks for obvious reasons, but let's turn our attention to the South for a bit, as the United States held its own national championships last week. The men's and women's events taking place at the same time in Duluth, Minnesota. And what an incredible conclusion to the men's final, which saw Danny Casper's rink from Minnesota squaring off against Duluth's own Corey Dropkin. Casper, the 2022 U.S. Men's Junior Champion, has been knocking on the door for the last couple of years, losing in the final in 2023 and the semis last year, both times at the hand of 9-time national champion and Olympic gold medalist John Schuster. However, Casper getting the better of Schuster this year, defeating him as part of a flawless 7-0 run through the round robin, but there would be no playoff rematch as it was Dropkin who went 5-2 in the round robin, eliminating Schuster with a decisive 11-3 win in the semifinal. Dropkin had to play that semi after losing in the Page playoff to Casper, setting up a third game of the week between the pair to decide the championship. And it was a thriller, with Casper jumping out to an early 4-1 lead before Dropkin responded, going ahead 6-5 after 9 ends. And after holding Casper to a single in the 10th, they went to an extra end. Casper did everything he could without the hammer, leaving Dropkin with a tough shot on his final stone, needing to remove the Casper rock, sitting right on the button, practically dead frozen on top of his lone yellow counter. Dropkin throwing big weight, and with some great brushing and a perfect line call, he nailed the difficult double, using the other Casper rock in the house to pick off the one on the lid, leaving Dropkin Stone sitting back 4 foot for the winning point. So Corey Dropkin capturing his second U.S. Men's Championship in an absolute barn burner. Over on the women's side, Tabitha Peterson was looking to become just the third skip to win 3 straight U.S. national titles. Curling out of St. Paul, Minnesota, Peterson got off to a strong start, going 6-1 in the round robin to finish in a tie for top spot. The only skip that had beaten her, Fargo, North Dakota's Christine McMacken. In fact, the game wasn't even close, 9-1 for McMacken. That set up a showdown in the 1-2 Page playoff, and this time it was a much different story, with Peterson's veteran experience coming to the forefront in crunch time, leading by 2, but without hammer coming home. Peterson controlled the end, and McMacken was left with an incredibly difficult final shot that she could not make, leading to a steal of 3 and an 11-6 win that sent Peterson through to the final, and McMacken would not get another shot at the 2-time defending champ, the Fargo skip, subsequently losing a close semifinal to Boston's Elizabeth Cousins, 6-5 in that one. So it was Cousins versus Peterson for all the marbles. And while Peterson had cruised to a 14-4 victory in their round-robin matchup, the final was a much tighter affair. Peterson leading by 1 with the hammer in the 10th, but there was no quit in Cousins as she manufactured a steal, and that was just like the men's final. We were off to an extra end, but once again, the vet would come through as Peterson kept it clean and gave herself an open hit to finish it off. And she did just that, securing a 7-6 win for the 3rd straight U.S. women's title, and the 4th in 5 years. Peterson joins Jamie Sinclair and Debbie McCormick as the only women to complete the three-peat. McCormick is the only one to win 4 in a row, and Peterson will have a chance to match that next year. For now, though, she and Corey Dropkin will prepare to represent the Stars and Stripes at this year's World Championships. And with that, we've run out of rocks this week. Thanks again to Danielle Inglis for joining us. Remember to follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up with all the latest news. You can also find every episode of the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Our next episode comes your way February 14th. Until then, thanks for watching, and good curling.